Hi, I'm Alana Goldstein, and you're watching Going Goldstein, everything you need to know for a busy mom on the go. If you like all the content that I post here, it would really help me out with the YouTube algorithm if you could hit that subscribe and like button. Thanks. We're going to call this segment My 2 Cents, because those are my 2 cents. So I just wanted to hop on here and talk about a video that I was watching yesterday on, it came up in my recommended YouTube recommendations, and it was about a family that lives like off the grid. And it was a family of like a mother and a father, and there are 2 children in the first video, and there are 3 children in the follow-up in the second video. And they were talking about like how they live off the grid, and they don't, they homeschool their kids and all of that. But then they started talking about like how they don't give their kids medicine, and like that if their kid gets sick, that they give them natural remedies, and like they don't give them antibiotics. And then they started talking about how they were like anti-vaccination. And it was interesting because in the first video, her younger child was in like a cloth diaper and like peed on the floor of the studio, like in the first video. And then in the follow-up video, they were talking about like everyone's reaction to that when that happened. And the mother was saying that after that happened, like social services was called on her and stuff. And that they wanted to make sure that she was like a fit parent. And I just feel like when there is a limit to like how you can raise your kids and like doing what's up to you. And a lot of times education can be up to you. And if you want to homeschool, I think that's cool. And if you want to, only give your kids certain food, that's cool. But when you start getting into the territory, so she was talking about how her child had scarlet fever. And instead of giving him antibiotics, she gave him things to like boost his natural immune system. And like, it's so hard to imagine, like in a situation like that, where your kid has like 103 fever, and in the old days, like in the days of like, Laura Wilder and like all the Little House on the Prairie books, or like in the Little Women books, in the old days, people used to die from scarlet fever. Like it's a thing, And she's talking about it so casually. And it made me really mad watching this video. And like the people who were interviewing her, they didn't want to cross any boundaries. They didn't want to, offend her, I guess. Or they wanted to ask questions in a way that were like inoffensive. And they were like, don't you think you're being a little selfish by not vaccinating your kids? And she's like, no, I've watched like many hours on videos about how vaccinations are bad. And they're like videos by like doctors. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? You're like a flat earth person, like who says that they watched like a 2-hour video about like how the earth is flat. And now they believe the earth is flat. It's like the reason why we have vaccines is to protect society and protect kids. And by not vaccinating your kids, you're like being selfish. It shouldn't have been a question. It's like you are being selfish. Like my uncle had polio as a kid because the polio vaccine didn't exist, and it's like it exists now. And people that choose not to vaccinate their kids against polio are being selfish because like polio has come back in like recent years, and it's like such a crazy disease, and like nobody needs to get polio because we have like a vaccination against polio. So anyway, as I was listening to her talk on and on about like the medicine situation, so going back to what I was saying about scarlet fever, and it seems so crazy to me because as a mother, if you see that your kid has 103 fever for 3 days, there is a panic that like sets in, and you're like, oh my God, like I need to get my kid antibiotics. And like it's something that's available. And why is that a last resort? And why is that something that's seen as like, she's like, oh, I don't believe in using like artificial means to like lower the body's temperature. It's crazy. Give your kid antibiotics. Like if your kid has a fever for 3 days from scarlet fever, and your child could die, like she's just lucky that she's like, his natural immune system is strong because I only give him natural. No, you're just lucky. You're lucky that he didn't die. And these kinds of videos, they're meant to be like controversial and they're meant to like get reactions out of people. But I just felt myself being so upset. Like somebody needs to like shake this woman and be like, vaccinate your kids and like give them antibiotics when they're sick. I mean, I understand that there are limits, you know, and again, cloth diapers versus disposable diapers. Hey, it's a choice. Homeschooling versus like being in the system. Hey, it's a choice. But like your kid like dying from a disease that if they took an antibiotic, they could like live. I don't think that should be optional. So that's my 2 cents. We're going to call this segment My 2 Cents because those are my 2 cents. And I'll see you next time. Bye.